Welcome to RTV for the seventh lesson in the program Teaching English to the Sheep and Understanding India as a Nation and its History. As I said, agriculture, animals, human beings, and then the industrial processes that human beings starting with leather, pot making, weaving, tilling the land, and iron smithing, goldsmithing, bronze smithing, and so on. Now, how did our villages form? Without villages, there cannot be cities. It's a very simple system. The villages are a congregation of human beings as families, as relatives, as friends. They form together and build houses at one place. They look for good water resource. Mostly the villages in the early days were formed around river beds because the rivers provided water, or on the sea coast. But the difference between the rivers and the sea is that river water is very tasty and it does not have salt like the sea water. Sea water is full of salt which human beings cannot drink and cannot survive. Whereas fish survive, other animals in the seawater survive, plants survive, but human beings and the land animals like sheep, goat, buffaloes, bulls, cows, elephants or giraffe, even tigers, any animal cannot drink seawater because of its huge amount of salt in it. Therefore, they depend on rainwater. When the rainwater gets into a low-end area and becomes a stream or a river, that water taste and its mineral components will be very useful for human body, and human being and animals can survive around that water. So villages were formed around the river beds or around small streams. But as I said, over a period of time, people themselves made tanks. History tells us that when Harappa city was built, women understood the nature of water storing and the need for water storing, and they built water tanks in Harappa kind of cities. Now that is the reason why in Telugu regions, on the tank bed there is a goddess called Katta Maisamma. So that means it was this Maisamma who could have been the first engineer who planned for a tank bed. So around tanks now villages exist, or after the villages are settled, they build a tank. Now around the villages you can see small agrarian gods and goddess temples. But the most important component of village is the agrarian production, as I said, and then kitchen. Now, in order to see that, the production survives, and the kitchen and the home survives, you needed to have different small scale industrial units in the village. And these experts in each industrial unit, let us say an expert who can make leather ropes, a person who skins the dead body of cattle and sees that the skin does not contain lots of holes or doesn't get spoiled, then it is converted into leather into ropes, bags. So without this technology, village could not have survived. But unfortunately, the leather technologists, or what we call leather engineers, were condemned as untouchable. With this, our knowledge suffered a lot. If you condemn an engineer as an untouchable or a doctor as an untouchable, then the knowledge system gets a lot of setback. That's what happened. So then the pot maker, without pot making, no human being would have lived in a modern form or in a very comfortable form by eating just roasted food in the fire. So the pot maker should not be treated as low caste. This caste business has destroyed our energies, talents, and human potential and science. Caste system has become anti-science agent. So take for example ironsmith, goldsmith, weaver, or wool cutting. So all these people were divided into castes, and they tried to project that those who work around temple here or this and that, they are only the superior. No, it is not like. Each work has its own thing, but the fundamental work is village industry. Without that, if you just look at villages, if there are village temples or not, people survive. There are a number of villages which don't have any temple at all. You have tribal areas. They believe in God. They appeal to God in their own language. But there are no temples or there are no priests around. Yet people survived for centuries. So what happened is that villages were formed, 10 houses, 20 houses, 30 houses, 100 houses. And as village was becoming bigger, all early what we call cottage industries. Cottage is a shed. An industry forms in that small shed. Or as I said, house is a small industry. The kitchen is a food making industry. So this industrial networking first happened in our villages. Now this has a huge technological knowledge. We will see in future how there would not have been computer without there being a pot, without there being a ironsmithing technology, without there being a goldsmithing technology. See, technology begins at one level, and as human being keeps on working, new interactions, new knowledges, the technology grows upwards. It is not just book reading or telling a poem or singing a song. That alone is more important. No. More than that, these issues are more important. These technological knowledges are fundamental. Now that's how, when all these books were not there, when all these songs were not there, all these movies were not there, people were surviving in villages. How? They were producing food, They were producing goods. They were converting that food items into kitchen based edible food. So human being was living, but their longevity of life was short because they did not get enough protein food, they did not get medical attention, they did not have education to increase their knowledges, they did not have schools. Schools are very, very important. Sharing knowledge, teaching knowledge of these animals, human beings, their work, their culture, their relationships, and the industries that they formed. This becomes central for human survival and long living. Take, for example, India. When we got independence in 1947, our average lifespan was about 40 years. Today, on an average, some people die early, some people die very late, 90, 100. But on an average, Indians are living around 70 years. So 30 years we increased human life. How? Because of education, because of health systems, because of increased technology. But if caste system was not to be there, if there was no caste in India, we would have become more richer than America. We would have become better than Europe. We would have established better schools and universities. We would have become better than China. This caste system put us backward. And our control on women's knowledge, women's skills, women's equality. Take, for example, very funny thing, men said that when woman is menstruating or when she gives childbirth, she should be treated as untouchable. This is absolutely unscientific. As I said, without mud, there is no food. So without a woman menstruates, there cannot be a childbirth. So that is a sacred thing. So when a child is born from mother's stomach, there will be fluids all around. That's not very bad. That's not bad thing at all. It's good. That's how child survives, with the fluids in the stomach, mother's stomach. So they said, these are all pollution, these are all untouchable. This is absolutely ignorance, absolutely anti-human thinking, anti-production thinking. If you don't touch mud, how do you convert mud into food? It's not possible. So our villagers did that. Villagers did not care these theories. They said, without producing food, nobody can survive. So they went on building up cottage industries, small scale industries, and human relations between each other. But they suddenly projected something called caste into it. Okay, if you are making leather, you should be outside the village. No, that was wrong. Or if you are making pots, you should be here. If you are an ironsmith, you should be there. If you are a book reading person, you should be on the top. This is absolutely bad thing. Now, book reading is not, I write books, I read books. Book reading is not a great difficult task than tilling the land or making a pot. They are more difficult things, they are more scientific things. So this is a training that I got. Therefore, I cannot say that I am superior to others. This kind of knowledge somehow was injected into our villages. So if our villages overcome this and start writing about what is the leather industry, who makes leather tools, what is the greatness of that men and women who do that, who makes pots, what is the greatness, who makes iron tools, who tills the land, and what is the kind of love they have towards animal. That should not be linked to who eats meat, who doesn't eat meat. Loving animal is the fundamental thing, to feed it, to see that it drinks water. Therefore, in our villages, these systems are now alive. So, we should completely give up caste practices. We should completely give up human untouchability practices, touchability, untouchability. God did not create these things. These are absolutely selfish human beings who did not want to work but get food without work. They created all these problems. So this actually made India backward. Now, by listening these lessons, you will learn a new idea, about a new India, about a new village India, new science and technology in the village, new friendship between animals and human beings, and new friendships between men and women in the kitchen, at home. Thank you. Later on, we will have our eighth lesson in future. Thank you.